Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to Unity Spiritual Center of Sheboygan. All of us in the audience here and all of you out in the ethers, Facebook, all of those great places, live stream. I'd like to welcome everybody who's here for the first time and remind you to turn off your cell phone. And it says here, no texting during the service. I hear there's really rotten karma to do that, so you won't want to do that. And if you'll all stand and join me for our opening song, My Soul is Welcome Here.
At the right time, I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Oh, yeah. All right. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just what I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just what I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. 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 My soul is welcome here.
And I hope you all feel that welcome because we are so glad that you're here. Tom will light the candle and I will read the daily word for today, Sunday, October 10th, 2021. The word is joy. A growing awareness of God's presence is my greatest joy. Awakening from a restful sleep, I give thanks for the new day and all the people who will be part of it. Although I cannot know what will happen as this day unfolds, I remind myself that everything and everyone might lead me to a deeper awareness of God. This growing awareness is my greatest joy. Even if the day includes less than happy experiences, I will know the quiet joy and comforting strength of the peaceful presence of God that is always within me. I will rejoice today in being alive, able to think, to feel, to appreciate the sights, sounds, and aromas that fill my environment. I will discover joy anew as I recognize each person I meet today as a unique expression of the wonder of God. And from Psalm 118:24, This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Flames of faith. We perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all people and all faiths, all sentient beings, come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here today. We light the candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light a candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light a candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light a candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light a candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light a candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light a candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light a candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light a candle for all forms of New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And we light a candle for all those who are yet unaware of the power and presence of spirit in their lives, for the space that we are holding for them at this center and for all religions unnamed in this ceremony. Thank you, Tom. We'll stay seated as we sing the Lord's Prayer. We speak a couple of lines and then sing.
Will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever.
Thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. We come to the time in our service where we take a little break from our active brains and move from our heads to our hearts. Take that time for meditation. Take that time to go within, to acknowledge the presence in your life, and to be quiet and feel that presence. If it feels comfortable to you, place your feet flat on the floor. Close your eyes gently. And place your hands in your lap on your legs, palm up in that receptive mudra. Feel the chair you're sitting in, and then feel deeper in the chair. As you become more settled in your chair, begin to take several slow, deep breaths. With each breath in and out, feel your body becoming more relaxed. Breathing in and breathing out. More relaxed. Breathing in and breathing out. Deeper within. Another breath in, deeper still. I'll be reading a quote from the book, The Secret. Let the words wash over you as I read. No matter who you are or where you are, you can change your life with gratitude. But you must feel it with your whole heart and radiate it from every cell. Gratitude is not a mental exercise, and in fact, if you use your mind for gratitude, it will have little or no power. True gratitude comes from your heart. True gratitude comes from your heart. You must think gratitude through your heart, speak gratitude through your heart, and feel it intensely in your heart. Begin to imagine or feel gratitude on each breath in and each breath out. Breathing gratitude into your heart space and out of your heart. Breathing gratitude into your heart space and out your heart. Thinking the word gratitude as you breathe. Gratitude as you breathe in. And gratitude as you breathe out. Breathing in gratitude through your heart. Breathing out gratitude through your heart. You may begin to feel your heart becoming larger, or feel a warm sensation in your heart space. Continue breathing the word gratitude in and out. In and out. Gratitude. And drop the word gratitude. Just breathing in and out. The feeling of gratitude. Breathing in and breathing out. That feeling of deep, deep gratitude. Continue breathing and feeling gratitude in your heart and to and from every cell in your body. Imagine or feel people or places or experience that bring forth that feeling of gratitude. The music will carry you into this chance to name and acknowledge what we are grateful for. And you can do this in your head, or you can speak the words softly out loud. I'm feeling gratitude for each and every experience in my life. No matter how they looked, good or bad, that has brought me to this place, in this moment in time. Gratitude. And as our meditation time draws to a close, thank God, Goddess, Father, Mother, God, or however you name the divine, for this quiet time together. And become more aware of your surroundings. Feel the people next to you, in the room with you. And come back to this space. And when you are ready, open your eyes and be here now. This morning I have the privilege of introducing our guest speaker, Rev Sandra McKinney, who traveled all the way from Oklahoma, where she did a wedding yesterday, and then trucked on over to our house where she spent the night. And if John hadn't been watching his watch, we'd still be sitting at the kitchen table chatting because we were having such a good time catching up with each other. Sandy has a very long history in Unity. She was a licensed Unity teacher and became a minister, and she is now ministering in other ways. And her, your Facebook said, wedding yesterday, Unity today, a retired Unity minister never retires. So we're lucky that we are the recipients of Sandy being here today. Sandy.
Yes, I'm so grateful for Annie and John's hospitality. It's such a joy. We had early church this morning at the kitchen table and enjoyed one of John's incredible breakfasts. If you got to experience that. So thanks for having me. I have been speaking regionally since I retired. Been over to St. Cloud, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, here in Sheboygan. And I look back, the last time I was here was 2017. And it's like, oh, I didn't even think it was that long ago. It's 5 years now. And then, of course, we had this experience that we all got to go through, and everything went virtual. And so I've been doing a lot more on Zoom in the last year and a half. And I was telling, I do a lot of meetings for nonprofit organizations, and of course now all those are Zoom. I'm kind of liking that in my jammies and going from one meeting to the next meeting without, just go get a glass of water and then go back and get your seat again. So I tried to focus during everything we went through with the pandemic, try to focus on what are the positive things that have come out of this, because I think we always need to look at when life gives us challenges. You know, there's even a Bible verse, when man made it for bad, God made it for good. So there will always be some good things that come out of challenging times. Today I want to speak about spiritual journey. That's a phrase that I think is very common in unity, at least it has been for me over the years. Also a phrase used by many religions, and I must say I love your lighting of the flames for all traditions. Charles Fillmore would be so happy with that, because he really embraced all traditions and even invited those folks onto Unity Village grounds to pick their brains, so to say. So spiritual journey is used by all religions to mean the natural progression that a person, as we grow in our understanding of God, and I think this is a lifelong process, and our understanding of the world and ourselves, we can relate that to this journey that we're on, that relates to how we grow spiritually. It is an intentional lifestyle of growing deeper in knowledge and wisdom. I think we really have to make a commitment and say this is a focus. For me, early on, I was introduced to Unity in 1973. So I've been with Unity ever since then. But again, with Charles Fillmore's teachings, I always felt permission to seek outside of basic unity and really explore all religions, and then put together what works for me. What works for me in my spiritual journey? I always like to say that unity really doesn't have any rules. We create our own. We have these 5 basic principles to believe in. They're very simple. So I believe we are spiritual by nature. That we came into this lifetime, this path we're on, and with this very spiritual meaning at a deep, deep level. And that means that we're really born with this capacity to live within this meaning of a human experience and participate as we develop this consciousness or this process of as we wait it to form over time. And I do believe it takes time. I think it takes a lifetime. Some of us get longer at that than others. You know, the depth, the extent to which this capacity forms, I really think depends on each one of us. So we're each in charge. We're in charge of that how and why do we do it. Spiritual illumination comes with honest effort. But don't expect it to just drop out of the sky and one day you got it. Or come in a special hand-delivered envelope. That's not how it works. So where do we start? Where to start? I think it comes from a desire to grow in wisdom, an understanding of the first step. You know, at birth, I've done some rebirthing processes. I encourage anyone to look at that, the desire to. At birth, I think we're trying to make sense of this everyday world that we've come into. The spiritual awareness takes the opportunity to grow within us in many forms. And insight will evolve as we grow within that willingness to explore, to question, to challenge, maybe change personal beliefs and attitudes. And from our very early days until our present, the ordinary world has offered endless opportunities to mature in a process of discovery, leading to deeper insights. And it just kind of has one of the advantages of getting older. You can see how that's worked in your life. And because these experiences occur every day in our context of personal history, our interpretation of them plays a big part in the direction that we take. Exploring the emotional history of our life can reveal unresolved issues that might be delaying or distorting or misdirecting our natural desire to grow in spirit. I can really identify with that in my life. We all face problems and pain and human suffering of all kinds. And yet those times do strengthen our inner life if we let it. And if we're grounded in this attitude of personal accountability. Without this honest self-evaluation, this willingness to look at ourselves, without that, our spiritual path can sometimes seem to just go in a circle. And we may choose a specific belief system within a religion to guide us. And maybe that was given to us at an early age as a child, kind of given if we're taken to church. I did learn recently, and I thought this was very important. I'm very involved in recovery programs. And there was a woman who had been incarcerated and had changed her life around through the treatment course that we have in Eau Claire. And we were down in Madison and speaking to legislators about some things we'd like to see changed in the criminal justice system. And she had at that point 6 months of sobriety. And she shared this with that group. She found that not having had any religious training as a child made it harder for her in recovery to identify with the higher power concept, which that's what recovery programs use, and which I think aligns perfectly with the unity message. And so when I heard her say that, I really had to think about that, because my early training very much involved church. And so that recovery, higher power concept came easy for me. But I really thought about that and thought, oh, as a child, if you're not given that, some kind of form of spiritual training, what's that going to be like in adulthood? And I hear a lot of parents now saying, well, we're going to leave it up to the child to decide. I think we need to really think about that. It made me think about her comment when I was looking at the spiritual journey information to share. And I think as a society, we might be wanting to look at that. So you may choose a specific belief system of any religion, all these religions that we lit a candle for. All of those can serve our spiritual journey. And you may rely upon your insights and your personal experiences to deepen that journey. You may seek out life lessons found in literature, art, music, philosophy. These many religions, many teachers, many spiritual disciplines to inspire us, to guide us, and to inform our spiritual journey. All are vehicles to carry our process of developing awareness that lead us to this inner wisdom. But finally, the most important spiritual tool, I think, to take will be our attitude of interest, our openness to discovery, our willingness to release maybe fixed interpretations or messages maybe implanted by parents or grandparents. We really need to look at those. And this will allow us to choose the appropriate path that directs us forward. Now, there's actually 25 journey stories in the Bible. So here's just a couple. Paul first draws attention to the fact that when God called Abram, that's when he was called before Abraham, Abram said he obeyed without knowing where he was to go. That was a journey. In Genesis, it reads, now the Lord had said to Abram, get out of your country, away from your family, from your father's house, to the land I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. So he had to leave his country, which was essentially Babylon, his family, meaning his ethnic kindred, the Semitic people in his house, his relatives, and to leave it all. In Exodus, we learn about another journey, Israel, a nation of slaves. We began to glimpse the possibility of freedom through Moses. In their anticipation, roller coastered from high expectations to dread after each plague. We had plagues back then too. They left Egypt, and their journey memorialized our own freedom from spiritual bondage. Now we leave spiritual Egypt representing the world, and we leave the world behind. And in great hope and zeal, they began their trek towards God's kingdom. And in our recent pandemic, our 21st century plague, many of us have been and seen a connection to our individual spiritual journey. I know for me this was a great time of reflection. I remember especially that first 6 weeks when we weren't leaving our homes, and really seeing that as an incredible spiritual time. Where I'm supposed to stay home and sit in my chair. And I'm doing it for the higher good of humanity. And I kept thinking about the healthcare workers and the things they were going through. And so I stayed in my house for 6 weeks, literally didn't leave. But I spent that time in meditation and prayer. And it was so powerful. Another Bible journey, Enoch's. His example takes us to the next logical step in a faithful person's movement, an example of faith. Paul emphasizing not chronologically, but experientially, that faith, as experienced in practical life, is part of the journey. I think we get more faith as we are about journeying spiritually. In a true life of faith, walking with God appears often in relationships to a spiritual journey. So walking, those are the Bible's most frequently used metaphors for two related concepts, depending upon the translation. They're used almost 300 times to indicate interaction with another and making progress toward a destination. So somewhat related, but used to a lesser extent, walk or walking indicates a passage of time as a person takes their journey. A pilgrim is a person on the move, traveling from one place to another. And that's usually used in a religious sense of one who may have no settled habitation, but knows where he or she is going. And here it's especially clear that all of those people through those Bible stories were motivated by a vision of what lies at the end of the journey. Now, I would suggest that authors, teachers, healers, guides will appear in your life. You've all heard that phrase, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. I believe this is really true in our own spiritual journeys. And it very often isn't emotionally or physically pleasant. I think of, I'm amazed at how our view of age changes as we age. I can remember when I thought 60 was really old. And at age 62, I had, a little before that, age 57, I had decided that I couldn't figure out how to make life work. I'd been struggling, getting different jobs. I was doing the licensed teacher journey. And I think I'm getting close to 60, and I thought, I'll just go to Silent Unity and pray till I die. I literally thought that. And so I sold everything I owned, which wasn't very much, got in my car from Eau Claire and started heading to Unity Village. I've been there many times for retreats and classes. And they always said, don't come here if you think you're going to work. in the prayer room without housing, an address, or a phone. Now, this is before cell phones. Well, you meet people who work in the prayer room, and they, of course, want you there. So they say, come, you can stay on my couch. You can use my phone number. And so that's what I did. You know, I checked in when I got there with the gal who worked there that I had met that way. Went and did my interview. It takes about 6 weeks to get hired. Went and did telemarketing in that 6 weeks. Please be kind to telemarketers. Just say thank you for calling. That's fine. But I really believed I was on the last legs of life. And now I can look back. That's 20 years ago. I just turned 80. I can look back and say, wow, I just started a new life back then. You know, I went into ministry. I served a church for 13 years. Now I'm 5 years into retirement, and I'm still doing all this minister stuff. So yes, ministers don't retire. And working at Silent Unity was definitely a part of my spiritual journey. You know, if I hadn't done that work, I don't think I could have went into ministry. It was really my foundation for ministry. And I believe we can think about all of our work that way. We may be in jobs. I've done telemarketing more than once in my life. It's a horrible job. And you know how much hate is coming at you online. But it's there as a job when you need a job and you need some income. And was it part of my spiritual journey? I think it was, in the way that I can think positively now about those calls. Now I have a phone where I can silence them. I don't even have to hear their ringing. So yes, spiritual journeys. I encourage us all at every age. I like to do it on the ages where there's a big zero by it. Really look back at the last decade and, okay, what kind of spiritual growth has happened in that decade? You know, most religions are content with teaching you what to think. This may be why there's so much discontent with religion today among people who know how to think. Unity and the New Thought movement began as spiritual philosophy intent on teaching people how to think, not what to think. And when that philosophy was embraced, it was asked of those joining in to stand for something and against nothing. You know, Mother Teresa once said, I'll not stand with you against war, but I will support your cause that is for peace. To be for something, not against something. New Thought teachers have a common teaching principles of thought that could be applied to whatever we think. Didn't matter what one believed as long as we thought about it in a principled and positive way. So in unity is not what we think that we share in common, but how we think that defines us. So here's an example, and in looking for guidance on this, I found Joseph Campbell, a writer and a healer. Some of you may have read his work or studied with him. He's best known for his work in mythology and comparative religions. I think he's even had programs on PBS. And his work covers many aspects of the human experience. His philosophy is always summarized by this phrase, follow your bliss. The questions he asks, we can ask ourselves. Number one, who am I? Who am I? Number two, what do I love? What do I love? Number three, how shall I live knowing I will die? I worked 1 year in the funeral industry, which I was grateful for when I got into ministry. But it was to go out and talk to people about pre-planning. Nobody wants to talk about dying. I didn't get that. We're all going to do it. So how shall I live knowing I will die? And four, what is my gift to the family of the earth? In that time I'm here, what is my gift to the family of the earth? So that first question, who am I? We can get really bogged down with that one. We can put ourselves right up to the mirror and spend years, a lifetime, reflecting on surface things. I'm just as guilty as everyone. First we're someone's child, then perhaps a sibling, a student, and we have all these roles that we assume, both in our professional lives, our work lives. And we move into those in certain ways, and we can communicate in different relationships, I think, differently. But if we put all those roles aside, who then are we? And in order to get to that sense of our call, or that essence of why we're here, that what makes our life flow, we really need to open ourselves up. Not to any sort of definition, but to being within all definitions. It's what's called in Judeo-Christian circles the I am. It's such a powerful phrase. And any words you put after I am come with a lot of power. So be careful how you use it. It's not a place to ignore daily tasks, but it is a peace of mind. It's an understanding of potential, of being beyond labels, an opening beyond judgment and expectation. Those that embrace life and life energy, those are the ones who really recognize what I'm talking about. And those are the ones that have this avenue to their bliss, to their unique signature of being, which means nothing more than a way to be, a way to live most fully. It's not static, but it flows, and it moves us into and through experiences. A good inroad to knowing ourselves well is to examine, number 2, what do we love? What do I love? This is a daily exercise, thing to develop, nurture, and claim. And trust the love, not the outcome, because this can evolve and change over time. So how will I live knowing I will die? If we realize that all beings end in death, then 2 things become readily known. One, that time is precious. People with great fame and legacy die. People who've done great things and no one knows about it, they die. People who have simple lives, they die. 100 years from now, most of the triumphs that we are striving for will all be lost in the shuffle of life. And what matters is the life that we have right now. So how can we live that to its fullest, knowing we will die? And what is my gift to the family of the earth? We can create a legacy, but only if we're authentic. Adding to the wisdom of the world helps the world, but living in the spirit of life generates awe and gratitude. Think about those 2 things with how you're moving through your life and your relationships and your interactions. Inspiring awe and gratitude. And what will the world be like, the earth be like several generations from now, is up to the next generation. The effort of the living is what will fill our lives with vitality, gives us a sense of eternal and the presence of the joy of being. Joy. Took us back to today's daily work. Did you like that segue? In Unity, we don't answer the questions for you. We ask the questions, and we give guidance, a roadmap, a GPS. I couldn't do this travel I've been doing lately without my coach. If she dies, I'm in trouble. We have resources to find the answers that are within us. They're not out there. The answers are all within us. And this privilege of a lifetime is being who you are. Who am I? Who do I love? How shall I live knowing I will die? And what is my gift to the family of the earth? You know, in journeys we take when traveling, we use road maps. Today, more commonly, GPS. So what's the best tool for our spiritual journey? We think of spiritual journey in the same context. What's a tool we're using? Meditation. Big. Going within. Wisdom for your journey truly is within you. I think we're connecting back here, right? There's a book titled Live Your Calling. The author describes a Federal Express commercial. Maybe you saw this. The Paradise. Is that what you said? Paradise. I'm not saying it right. You know what I mean, right? But it takes off on the movie Castaway. Everybody remember that one? With Tom Hanks and volleyball? He played a FedEx worker whose company plane went down and he was stranded on a remote island for years, looking bedraggled. Hanks from the movie is a FedEx employee, and in this commercial, they have someone looking like Hanks, looking all bedraggled, and he's coming up to a door and ringing the doorbell and holding the package. And when the woman comes to the door, he explains that he's survived 5 years on an island, protecting this package in order to deliver it to her. And then curious, he asks her to, would she please open it and see and reveal to him what's inside. And opening the package and displaying the contents, the woman replies, well, there's nothing really great importance. Just a GPS navigational device, a compass, a satellite telephone, a water purifier, and assorted seeds. So everything he needed on that island was inside. So there's nowhere to go. What you're looking for is right here. And in the word nowhere is also the words now here. Thank you. Namaste.
I'll never look at FedEx the same way. I'd ask that you stay seated while we sing One Love. I don't know if Jules picked this out because I said, I miss singing. This one.
One love, one heart, let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart, give thanks and praise the Lord, and I'll feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart, let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart, give thanks and praise the Lord, and I'll feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright.
Okay, I'm sorry I made you sit in the back. Because you know you wanted to be join with me in the offertory prayer. The love of God inspires me to give in a spirit of generosity. I give it with love and joy to ensure the growth of this ministry and this unity center. And so it is. Thank you, God. In case you've missed it, there's a basket at the back where love offerings are gratefully accepted, and know that they do the work. Announcements. You know, we have trust issues. Yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be right. Breaking news. Reverend Aubrey will return later today from Arizona. I'm sure she will be refreshed. She had a massage. She had a week with friends, and I'm sure it included wine. She'll be in good shape. Special thanks to Sandy, who traveled all this way to be with us today. Thank you so much. And thank you to volunteers, Tom, Mary Ellen, doesn't say Mary Ellen, but she helped, and Juan. Annual meeting in Potluck is Sunday, October 24th, following the service. And it shows a picture of the two people who are running for board positions. And keep them in your prayers.
Annie, can I add to that, please? I do have a sign-up sheet back here for
Potluck.
the potluck thing. So sign up, we'll have whatever.
I heard pulled pork.
Oh, I like that idea.
Be there. New class on the book Untethered Soul workshop begins this coming Wednesday, October 13th, from noon until 1:30, and there's an evening session from 6 until 7:30. You're supposed to read the first 29 pages to be up to date when you start the class, and there is a love offering of $15 weekly or $100 for the sessions. Circle of Friends, that's the women's group for unity, will meet Saturday, October 16th, 9:30 in the morning here. And our closing song, please rise.
Have you ever felt as if your life was overwhelmed by all the pressures that surround you and the struggles that have found you? Oh, now don't you hide your heart. Take a chance and open wide. You will be the change. You will be the change. You will be the change. You want to see it, the world will change. You be the change, you be the change that you want to see in the world. Have you ever thought that you are powerless and flawed, and you questioned who am I? Can I do it once in my life? Or should I hide your light? Bring forth and let it shine. You will be the change. You will be the change. You will be the change that you want to see. Will change, you be the change, you be the change that you want to see in the world. Gather around the song, my friends, sing it loud and raise your hand. As the city will start to shine, we'll become a nation made of light. We'll be the change, we'll be the change, we'll be the change that we want to see in the world. We'll world change, may we be the change, may we be the change that we want to see in the world change. May we be the change, may we be the change that we want to see in the world change. May we be the change, may we be the change that we want to see in the world.
And we will repeat the prayer of protection for ourselves, for our community, and for our world. The light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And we give thanks and feelings of gratitude for this time together, for being in the presence, for being the presence, for being the light, and for so much more. And together we say, and
So it is. Amen.
Thank you.
I believe there's coffee. Tom worked very hard to make this happen.